So will it happen? Now, according to Dominic Williams, the founder of Dfinity, it's yes, but it's actually about the fundamentals. Let me explain what this is. Dominic Williams recently said Dfinity is migrating to open software as a service. What does this even mean? This is something that could very well shake up the fundamental qualities of this. I'm literally not joking, and I'll explain why I think so in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice. This is just my mindset perspective, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. So if we take a look at this right here, quite simply put, by Dominic Williams again saying Dfinity is migrating to open software as a service, what he really kind of means by that is how, for instance, companies today, right, they rent software, like for instance in the case of Salesforce or something like that, and they have to like pay every month per employee. So this is kind of like how the normal software as a service scene kind of operates as of right now. But Dominic Williams is trying to shake things up a little bit in a sense where, for instance, right, Dfinity, they want to replace that with open software as a service. So it's a kind of a free set of the same kind of apps, like for instance, HR, CRM, and all this, that a company runs on their computer. Now, people may be thinking like, okay, if it's free, then why is that a big deal? Now, the app, hypothetically, what he's trying to do or say is supposed to be free, but running it isn't, right? So basically, it's kind of like this. To run apps on the internet computer, you know, these enterprises or whatever, they burn the internet computer and turn it into cycles. Now, think about it just kind of like as electricity of sorts for the network. That's kind of the analogy that I have. But besides that point, you know, these apps, they spend those cycles every time they, you know, do stuff, right? In which case, if a company wants open software as a service, they're going to pay for an internet computer cloud engine. And then as a result, that engine burns cycles to keep, you know, whatever they want running, like in the case of AI or whatever. And then in the new plan, part of the engine revenue, so to speak, is used to acquire the internet computer and actually burn it. In which case, that could help over time create more of this deflationary pressure when it comes to their computer. So basically what Dominic Williams is trying to do is to not only make use of cloud engines and to also help increase the adoption of the internet computer, but also on top of that, help with the tokenomics of the internet computer in terms of trying to reduce that inflation. So again, at first glance, taking a look at Dominic Williams saying how Dfinity is migrating to open software as a service, it may seem kind of simple. Like it may seem like, who cares about that? Because even when Dominic Williams made this post, only like 1,000 people like made a heart or basically liked it, I would say. So it wasn't that much. So it showcases that a lot of people are overlooking this, but this is actually quite crucial, I think, for the longevity and the fundamentals of the internet computer. So when people like to tell me that nothing's going on, you know, they're not doing anything, well, I tend to disagree with that. There are things going on, and Dominic Williams is trying to make revolutionary changes to the internet computer, and by extension, I think Dfinity as well. They're doing things. They're not playing around. You know, keep in mind, they're looking to launch multi-dex soon. We got to let that sink in. They already have OEC version 2.5, right? They already have, you know, Caffeine AI. But still, Dominic Williams is like, you know what? We're still going to do things. We're still going to build, and we're still going to continue. This is the type of stuff that I'm seeing right now. So yes, people are saying, oh, wow, the internet computer is still below $3. I get it. But if I take a look at the fundamentals, it doesn't feel like something that is below $3 per token, I suppose. Just because, I mean, they're doing all this. Like, it's pretty tough to see a project do this, right? And Dominic Williams, he's not stopping. Like, you know, Dfinity, again, they've already spent around $500 million on research and development, and now we're beginning to see the fruits kind of blossom, in a sense. Or the flower, you know? Let me correct myself there. The flower is kind of blossoming just because all the hard work that Dfinity, and by extension, Dominic Williams has been putting in, now we're beginning to see it kind of blossom. And case in point, when Dominic Williams says Dfinity is migrating to open software as a service, I find that quite impressive, actually, because I take a look at what he's actually trying to say by saying that, and there's actually a very deep meaning. So I find that quite impressive. If I take a look at it, the internet computer being at around $2.40, really, I get the complaints here. But you know what? I don't really mind things being low as of right now. Yes, the internet computer did recover around 15% over the past 30 days approximately. But guess what? It's still over 3 times lower than November of last year. November of last year wasn't even that good. So this thing is still actually very low in the grand scheme of things. We're talking about a project here that reached around $20 back in 2024. So we got to let that sink in. Still very far away. We're almost 10 times away than the peak in 2024. Now, how long is it going to take to recover to that? I have zero idea. Because personally for me, I'm just waiting and holding. But one thing I do know though is that the internet computer is at below $3, and we recently saw $9 back in November, and $20 we saw in 2024. So if the internet computer could just either go back to $9, which it's over 3 times away from that, or if it goes back to $20, which is almost 10 times away from right now, I have nothing to complain about. Either $9 or $20, I have nothing to complain about. But either way, the internet computer is still very far from either $9 or $20. But one thing I am seeing is fundamental improvements. So that's why I don't mind holding and I don't mind waiting, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Again, I don't know how long I'm going to have to wait, but I'm just waiting. But I'm not telling anyone to do anything. I want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope you all have a very fantastic day. It's Malik the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.